Are we recording?
Yes.
My name is Mulligan, and I'm from Colorado. For a while, I was actually known as Charlie Boots. I went by that name for a bit, and I recently let it go. So my work was made under Charlie Boots for a number of years, especially when I was working in Denver before I moved to New York. There might be some people out there who might have met me before that might be a little confused. The rumors are true. Charlie and Aaron are one and the same. When I went to get my bachelor's at first, I went to be a potter. I wanted to be, I wanted to follow the example of my Uncle Andy, who was a potter out in New Mexico. I remember the first time I visited his shop out there, I was so impressed, and what really blew my mind was the fact that this was his building, like this was his place, his business. I loved studying at Metropolitan State University for so many reasons. For example, my classmates were amazing, and they inspired me, and I learned so much from my classmates. And there were a lot of positive things about the curriculum, but ultimately I felt like the curriculum wasn't technique-based enough. And so I decided to find the most technical-oriented school that I could, which was New York Academy of Art. They focused on traditional skills, traditional drawing skills and painting skills and all that. I went out there to be a painter, and I transitioned into being a draftsman. I switched over to the drawing program, so my master's is in drawing. But I don't necessarily consider myself any of that. I kind of switch around between being a sculptor, a draftsman, or a painter. To me, going to New York was a bit of a challenge, and I never liked the idea that I couldn't do it. You know, besides the school and besides the feeling like I didn't want to be the kind of person who felt like that's something I can't do, there was another reason, which is I was very excited to see all the art that's in New York. That was always a dream of mine. I didn't grow up around museums. That just wasn't part of my childhood, and I realized in high school how much art meant to me. I was excited by the idea of being able to go to museums, and New York has some of the most amazing museums out there. I remember the first winter break that I had in New York. I went to the Met every single day, almost every single day at least, to do master copies on my iPad to study from the amazing works in their collection. It was just a unique opportunity, something that I thought would never happen for me. To be around the thing that I loved, I guess, was the reason why I went out to New York. I thought I was a figurative painter. That's what I thought I was, and I thought I was really, really, really good at it. And most of my consumption of art had been through the internet, through screens. And when you look at a painting through a screen, you get a certain idea of it that is very much different when you go and see it in person. And with my screen-based understanding of art, I thought I was a great figurative painter. While I went out to one of the best figurative schools in America, and I realized how many people were not only as good as me, but significantly better than me. Significantly better. And that was humbling, which is a good thing. I think I was very fortunate to be humbled in that way. And it opened my eyes to how much I had to learn. I realized the perks of learning. I went out there like I had nothing to learn, and I realized quickly that I had a lot to learn. And my practice has since changed into a perpetual state of learning. I experienced more curiosity as an artist, and that has radically changed my work. And I'm also not a figurative painter anymore. Now I care much more about feeling. For a long time, felt experience seemed inferior to communicable experience. You know, like making statements was a big deal in my undergrad. And right now I'm kind of experiencing a love for objects and a love for substances that I didn't experience before. I used to love images, and I used to try to make really clever images. And I realized that cleverness runs out, but objects always have a openness to them. You know, you can always enter into the object in a way that you in a way that's fresh. And I want to just love the things that are around me, and instead of imposing some statement upon them, I want to be affected by them. I really like Mateo Lopez. He's a Colombian artist. He's a draftsman. And I saw a solo show of his at the Drawing Center before I left New York. It was about a year ago, I think. One of the best ways of thinking about drawing, the practice of drawing, is it's so open. His concept of drawing included sculptures, objects, and I don't see drawing so much as marks on a piece of paper. I like to think of it as the draftsman's attitude. I want to open a space like JuiceBox because I grew up in a community without art being part of the culture. And then I moved to another community where art was, you know, and it was a fundamental part of the community. And I saw the difference between those two spaces. And now that I'm back in Denver, I know that we have an art scene here. In the midst of all these changes, Denver is a rapidly growing city, and I find it very fascinating. I find it an ideal city to be in just because of the nature of the change that's occurring here. I want to make sure that art remains part of the culture here. I think a lot of people have that goal. What I'd like to do is to create a space where people can be passionate about art, creating communities of people who are passionate about the practice of art. I want to make a space where you can be a nerd for art, because growing up I was a nerd for like comic books and stuff like that, and I know that feeling of extreme satisfaction. If JuiceBox didn't have any limitations, if money wasn't a limitation, man, I would love to have this space where people could come in and they could treat the space like it's like their canvas. Like, I want it to be the place of action for people to come and with no consequences explore and play and innovate, really. And what that would entail for me would be if you want to turn the space into a giant installation, then we're going to do it. If you want to leave the space empty and, like, I don't know, write an essay and leave it on a table in the middle of the room, and that's the work, and that's some sort of a conceptual piece, I would like to do that. I would like to have an anything goes kind of space. And I think a gallery space is a perfect space to ask the question, what if? And in fact, you could almost argue that that's what it contributes, that space that's removed from society at large, that is a little bit safe. I want JuiceBox to be inviting to people who normally don't feel like a gallery space is their kind of space. Yeah.